All right, hello guys. Welcome in this new recap where I'm going to break down the price action and actually the session from yesterday. So from 29th of June, Euro USD, and in the next video, because I'm going to make two. So in the next video, I'm going to break down GU2. So here I am on Euro USD. On the 4-hour time frame, well, there was a 4-hour supply zone mitigation. Price couldn't manage to break above it. Price reacted on it. And this reaction has caused the break of this demand right here. I have marked this 4-hour supply out that has caused the break on this demand zone, but this 4-hour zone has broken too. Price couldn't really manage to mitigate the extreme of this whole movement. So we can say that it's a middle of nowhere reversal, and technically there was a 4-hour demand which wasn't a really valuable demand. It has caused some inefficiency. As you can see, here is the inefficient gap, and also this demand, not really valuable demand once again, but this demand has caused the break of this supply zone. So after the break of this zone, I was actually looking for sales, and I was actually expecting a mitigation on these areas right here on the 50-minute time frame. Also on the 4-hour time frame, if we take a look at this movement right here, well, technically this bearish movement here is only one movement, and this is a decision technically. And this was the reason I was looking for sales at the beginning of the session, because I was expecting a mitigation of this inefficiency starter zone that has caused the flip of this supply right here, and which has caused this inefficient push to the upside. So yeah, at the beginning of the session, I had bearish ideas, bearish bias mainly. But let's take a look on the 15-minute time frame. And session actually started with this candle right here. All right, the first candle of the session has printed a huge bullish candle, as you can see. So somewhere around here, where price was somewhere around here, I started to make the markups, and I marked this demand out right here that has caused inefficient push to the upside right here, had liquidity above it, and that was a small percent mitigation. This liquidity right here has been built up for a possible 50% mitigation, and after this 50% mitigation, I would look for longs up, expecting the mitigations of these supply areas. Also, there was a possible chance to see a flip of the zone, and after the flip, on the flip zone, we could take sales down to this extreme demand area. And actually, this demand right here was the origin of this whole movement to the upside after the 4-hour bigger volume starter demand area. So yeah, so at the beginning of the session, I was expecting bearish scenarios mainly, and the bearish scenarios were built on these supply areas right here. I did not mark this one right here. This was the technically the real extreme, but I did not mark it out. I marked these two supplies out where I was expecting confirmation entries. I was expecting the sweep of this liquidity after price swap some liquidity here. So this liquidity would function as a liquidity take, and after the sweep of this liquidity take, I would target this liquidity down here, and after this demand mitigation, I would look for longs to some higher liquidity pools right here, for example this one. But actually, as you can see, it did not happen. On this one right here, on the higher supply area, I was also expecting a confirmation entry, which actually did not happen, and this bullish movement to the upside has made me to change my bias a bit. And because of this strong bullish movement, and after the mitigation of this supply area, as you can see, price closed inside of it with several candles, but this indicated bullish ideas for me after the mitigation of this flip zone. This flip zone was a 5-minute flip zone that has caused a flip of this 5-minute area, which is a 15-minute refinement. So as you can see, price has flipped this zone perfectly with perfect volume candles, but mitigated an opposite sided zone. This opposite sided zone technically hold the price. So with these candles right here, this 50-minute area was still holding the price. It did not broke. Price just wigged above it, And if you take a look once again on the 5-minute time frame, after this huge bullish movement to the upside, after I saw the strength in the bullish movement, I was looking for longs and I was expecting higher supply mitigations. For example, this one on the 15-minute time frame. As you can see, this 15-minute supply right here has caused the breakout structure here to the downside, had small amount of liquidity below it, and caused really nice volume candles. So I was expecting a mitigation of this supply zone, and maybe after this supply zone mitigation, we could see a bigger pullback to the downside. But after the flip of these zone, which actually happened right here, as you can see, 15-minute candle closed above this zone, and actually after this weak reaction on this supply area, I was looking for longs. And let's take a look on the 1-minute time frame, but let's take a look first on the 5-minute time frame. So there was a 5-minute flip zone perfectly, which had really nice liquidity above it on the 1-minute time frame. I sent an update somewhere around here that this 5-minute zone has a chance to hold the price and has a chance to give a character changing confirmation entry, but also there was a clear 1-minute refinement inside of it. I decided to go for a confirmation entry after the sweep of this liquidity, after a small percent mitigation. So 50% mitigation did not happen on this zone, but the change of character happened with really nice V-shaped recovery. And actually there was a possible entry POI right here where I was waiting for liquidity creation to enter. This liquidity right here, it wasn't that much of a amount liquidity that I wanted to see. In the GU recap, you will see that there was a bit more liquidity on the possible entry opportunity on GU where I set on mid order, which turned out as a no tag. But I was actually waiting for a bit more liquidity in this case. So if there would be another touch right here, because technically this was the first touch, second touch, so technically it was a double bottom, but I wanted to see more. For me, there was a bit hesitation in the price, and I wasn't 100% sure about that. It's real liquidity or price just hesitating to sweep the early buyers from this region to a 50% and to make the real movement in this case. But as you can see, this was real liquidity, and this liquidity was enough for the price to sweep into the entry POI, and after the sweep of this liquidity, price has reacted on the entry POI right here. So yeah, it was a debatable liquidity take for me in this case. I wasn't 100% sure about this hesitation in the price action, so I did not count it as liquidity for the entry POI. But if there would be more liquidity to take for the entry POI, I would definitely go for this zone right here. But I decided to wait for more liquidity. There wasn't, so I was waiting for a deeper mitigation. And after, if a deeper mitigation happened here, I would enter on that character changing entry opportunity. So yeah, actually the criterias were there. So there were 9 criteria, but let's count the criteria for this entry opportunity. There was a higher time frame zone mitigation, 5-minute flip zone that has caused the supply beforehand. Perfect. There was liquidity take for the higher time frame zone. There was the liquidity take for the higher time frame zone. And there was an inefficiency for the entry POI. You can find really nice amount inefficient gap just above the entry POI. Perfect. We could say that we are in a pro trend, actually pro order flow. So there was last recent breakout structure, and technically price has broke above this high point. So technically the change of character happened, but I wanted to see the fail of this zone in this case, which actually did not happen, which actually did happen, sorry. So there was a tag in, and before the tag on the entry POI, 15-minute candle closed above the supply area. And yeah, this indicated me that the change of character actually happened. Price broke about 2 supply zones, 2 valuable supply areas. So technically the order flow was bullish in this case. Perfect. We have all the 4 base criteria that we needed. I started to count the variable ones. The first one was the change of character. The second one was the V-shaped recovery. As you can see, change of character happened with perfect V-shaped recovery. There wasn't 50% mitigation, so I wanted to see liquidity take for the entry zone. So 50% mitigation did not happen. All right, let me write it down here. 50% did not happen, but there was really nice liquidity target on the upside. Technically, there was liquidity. This has been swept out, but after the confirmation happened here, technically this high became liquidity. And also, if you take a look on the higher time frame, technically this is a really nice liquidity pool. And even though price has swept most of the part of this liquidity, there was still unswept liquidity at this high point right here. So there was liquidity target. So this would be the 7th criteria. The 8th criteria was actually not coming from an opposite sided zone. So even though there was a supply zone mitigation right here, but after the confirmation happened on this 5-minute flip zone, price wasn't coming from any opposite sided zone from this region. So there wasn't any opposite sided zone in this case. Perfect. And there was corrective pullbacks from pro movements. Let me take a look on the 15-minute time frame. Actually, I wasn't 100% sure about it. So if you take a look at this price action region, technically this was the only stronger bullish movement in this case. In the last recent price action region, the bearish movements were a bit stronger than the bullish ones. If you take a look here, so this was the only stronger bullish movement. So I did not count that criteria. So actually the corrective pullback, strong pro movements were missing too. And actually the combined liquidation was missing for me as well. So I had 3 missing criteria. These one right here, 50% mitigation, corrective pullbacks from pro movement, and combined liquidation. These were missing for me, and I had only 8 criteria for in this case. And you can see that with 8 criteria, I'm not really executing trades. I wanted to see liquidity here. If there would have been another touch, as I explained before, then I would enter on this zone with 9 criteria, but there wasn't. I did not consider this one as liquidity, but it could be. So some of you entered here, I believe, but for me, I wasn't 100% sure about this movement right here. It was a small hesitation or double bottoms, but yeah, I wanted to see more liquidity. That's all. So 8 criteria wasn't enough for me, so I decided to skip this trade. I wanted to see 50% mitigation. It did not happen, and actually after the tagging on this zone, price action was ranging and slowed down pretty well. So yeah, that's all, guys. I'm gonna stop the recording right now, and I'm gonna record the recap and breakdown about GU. So